Recording in progress. Okay, so hey guys, it's Kate Kamer here. I am, as you guys know, Corey and I are talking to you about all things 12-week year this month, which I kind of love because this book, I feel like if it's not on your to-do list as far as reading or listening to it, I think there's an Audible for it. Um, it needs to be because it makes all the overwhelming things when it comes to like planning. It like takes it all and like helps you just simplify the ever living shit out of it. So I highly recommend that you put it on your list. It is a super easy read. Um, and he is kind of funny. So definitely need to do that. Tonight I kind of want to talk to you guys all about creating vision. We're going to be talking more about goal setting and actually putting these goals into fruition in the coming weeks. So vision tonight is what I wanted to focus on because that's really the key to all of this, right? Such a huge part of finding consistency when it comes to this business, really when it comes to anything, is a vision. Um, the tough days are inevitable, right? Those days that you're exhausted or you just don't feel like doing it, or your kids are being crazy, or life, hits the fan, whatever it may be. Your vision, like having that concrete, yeah, like today, somebody save me. Somebody save all of us. Your vision is going to be a big part of what carries that through. Okay, that because if we don't have any kind of like why or purpose to what we're doing, it's like, well, of course, I'm just gonna scroll around on social media or watch Netflix instead of like send out my invites, whatever it may be. So when it comes to your vision, I am going to talk a little bit about the kinds of visions that we need to put in place, but I kind of wanted to give you a bit of a perspective shift. And again, I'm going pretty much directly from this book. So these ideas are not mine. I'm just communicating them to you. Um, I want to give you permission to dream really big when it comes to your visions. I think so much of the time we are so good at like putting a cap on those things, putting a cap on, limiting ourselves, limiting what we believe that we're capable of. And I want to encourage you to move beyond that because when you think about it, nothing great in this life ever comes without great vision, right? No one just up and decides to become president. Like they have a plan for that. Well, maybe some of them do. I don't know. That was a horrible example. Anyway, you want to make sure it's big enough. My brain's fried, you guys. You're welcome. You want to make sure it's big enough. Like it should make you feel uncomfortable, right? I don't want it to be something that like makes you like freeze in place and lose your mind, but it should be something that makes you feel uncomfortable. And speaking of freezing your mind, like I know I know what you're thinking when it comes to these uncomfortable big visions. When we sit down and we think about this future that we want that is so significantly different than the life that we're living today, it's like super overwhelming, right? It almost, you think about being maybe in a different home, like in a different income bracket, in a different maybe you're just gonna, I mean, maybe everything's gonna be completely different from what you're doing right now. It can feel like really impossible, and when it comes to coaching, especially, like you all have seen the crazy changes that people have made. You've seen people put, action into these visions that they have and reach those goals and surpass those goals. And so, like, you've seen that, like, you've seen people make these crazy changes, but then you put yourself in that position and it's like, you can't picture it at all. Like, there's no way. Like, how would I ever do that? And that is where, the stop comes into play because you're asking yourself how you would ever do that. And when you do that, it's like you just come up blank. Like it's inconceivable. Like there's no way that's going to happen. And then you feel guilty. You start to spiral. You fall back on your actions, like all of that. Like you feel discouraged and disheartened, right? I mean, it's totally normal for you to come up blank when you ask yourself, how would I ever do that? Because when you think about it, if you knew how to do it, like, wouldn't you have already done it? So, like, of course you don't know how to do it. Totally okay. You're human. You're reaching into new places, and it's okay that you don't know how to do it. So instead of asking yourself that constant question of how, this is where the perspective shift comes into play. I want you to instead ask yourself, what if? All right, not how you're going to do this, but what if? What if you entertained the possibility of a future like that, of a vision like that? Like, what if that was possible? And then, as far as it being possible, what benefits would come to you with that outcome? What would happen if you were making an income that allowed you to leave the job that is taking time from your family? What if you could afford the house so that you had more space for maybe a growing family, or maybe you wanted to be closer to, a different location, things like that, whatever that may be. I'm just throwing out random examples here. Allow it to go from being impossible to possible, because like you don't know the future, right? Like, what if it's possible? It totally could be. And then, to shift that perspective a little bit more, I want you to think about the actually I'm stepping back just a second here, because I wanted to add one more thought to the whole like being possible thing. The fact that it's another mindset shift here, but the fact that we would start to think that that is possible, just that tiny little shift in our heads, right? Like, that's just such a small thing, impossible to possible, but it allows us to like fuel desire towards that, right? It gives us that momentum. It allows us to continue to create those shifts. So, and then as you start to create those shifts, the next step from something being possible is to being probable. And when it comes to that, it's another question to ask yourself: how might I make this probable? Right? Like, really think about that. What steps would I need to take in order to make this a probable outcome for me? We're just like reverse engineering all of this. And then from there, it's just another quick step to making it a given, which, as far as a given goes, something that's probable, like, we're going to take steps that we believe are going to make this situation that we once thought was impossible to being not only possible, but to being probable. And then when you make these steps consistent, when you do them on a day-to-day basis, when you continue to show up, they're a given. Just let time and your action go from there. So that is kind of the thought process that we want to go through when it comes to these visions, you guys. Now, when it comes to the actual visions themselves, there are 3 different kinds. And again, we are going to work more on specific goal setting with these next week, but I kind of want to give you a breakdown of what they are, just so you kind of know what's coming. One is your long-term aspirations. 2 is going to be more of like your midterm goals. These are like maybe like 3 years or so. And then, most importantly, your 12-week goals. So when it comes to the aspiration aspect, I want you to think about everything that you want to be in this life, everything that you want for this life, everything you want for your family in this life. Turn over everything, like physically, spiritually, mentally, relationships, finances, your profession, from a personal standpoint. Yes, what would a perfect day look like? Think about like the kind of time freedom you'd like to have. Think about the kinds of maybe hobbies you'd like to have, or the vacations you'd like to take, your desired outcome. And when it comes to this, I want you to write it all down and literally like leave nothing off limits. Like, just pour your heart out. Seriously, just brain dump. And then, and this is, that's a practice that so many coaches use. I know like Moira Kusaba has a step-by-step guide for that. So does Lindsay Matway. Randomly, like the Clever Fox journal I use does a breakdown of that. There is something so powerful about just dumping out like what you would love life to look like, right? So from there, once you have that all written down, I want you to look at that list of aspirations that you have And I want you to pick out the ones that you really and truly emotionally connect with, because these are the ones that we're going to focus on. And when it comes to that, I would like for you to just do like a thought experiment. Like, where are you going to be at with that vision in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Like, what does that look like? You know, like, where are you going to be as far as relationships go? Where are you going to be as far as like your coach business goes, as far as your finances goes, you know, whatever those emotionally connected ones are for you. And then um, as you're doing this, as you're writing this out, I want to remind you too, just to be bold with it. Again, like, give yourself permission to dream and vision big, because these visions that you're writing down, you guys, they should be inspiring. They should give purpose to you. Like, they should be something that it's like life would be so much more full with that. I want you to, like, they should really connect to like your deepest desires when you're going through this. It's super important. I know it sounds kind of like woo woo, but I promise it's super important. So then when it comes to your 3-year goals, you know, again, we're looking at the ones that we specifically are wanting to work towards as far as those really emotionally connected ones. This is going to be a lot more specific. Like, I want you to get super, super specific with where you want this to be, both from a personal level and a professional level. And the reason I want you to get specific about where you'd like to be with this certain aspiration in 3 years is because the more specific that you are with it, the easier it's going to be to create a plan for it. And the plan is going to be your 12-week goals. Okay, like, it's that's what I love about this book, is that it takes this like monumental thing that we're like, oh my gosh, it's like dream life right there, and it like breaks it down to where it's like, shit, like, I could do this. Like, yes, it'll take time, and of course it's going to take effort, but like, I can actually do this. So be specific. Now, as far as the 12 weeks go, so there's a lot of benefits to operating in a 12-week cycle. Like, think about any time you've created a goal, like a New Year's resolution, January 1st, right? Whether it's like with your health or a work or whatever it may be. And you say, you know, by the end of this year, I'm going to be here. It's like a really long time, right? Really long time between January 1st of 2023 to December 31st. So much time to procrastinate. So much time to say, oh, life is just really tough right now. And it probably is. Life is tough. Like, we always have valid excuses for why we're not able to get stuff done. But it's like, it gives you so much more opportunity to not do the work. It gives you so much more opportunity to say, well, I'll just do it tomorrow. I'll just do it next month. I'm going to get my shit together here. So with the 12 weeks, I mean, it is a lot of time, but at the same time, like, it's not. You know, when you think about it, uh, working in a 12-week cycle is going to allow you to become more efficient. It allows you to place more value on each day. It allows you to develop a plan that feels more attainable to follow through. You know, the whole thing about how like there's no you know, motivation isn't really a thing. You know, our motivation is fleeting, and the thing that is going to make motivation, if that's what you want to call it, consistent, is action. It's the same thought process here. Working in a 12-week cycle allows us to have consistent action, which is going to become motivating for us, which then is going to help us to build momentum with our business. And then it all just snowballs together. So I think it allows you to lean in, is the biggest thing that comes with it. It allows you to lean in. And again, like, having goals for 12 weeks, it feels, I mean, really, I mean, it just puts, for me, like, kind of puts the pressure on. It's like, okay, like, this is what I need to do. This is the time frame I'm going to do it in. And like, man, I got to get to work. So it's definitely something that's going to be able to help to develop, it's going to help you to develop more of an action-based plan versus just a vision and a thought process that you're going to potentially do or not do. And so when it comes to these 12-week goals that you guys are going to implement, or that you guys are going to come up with, they do need to meet 5 criteria. First of all, they need to be specific and measurable. That's criteria number 1. This one, I love this. They need to read positively. I love that. So like when it comes to, let's say when it comes to health, and your goal is to have better nutrition, you're not going to write out, I'm not going to eat sweets anymore, or whatever that may be, or I'm done eating shit food, or I'm done, whatever it may be. It's going to be what you're going to be doing instead, not what you're not going to be doing. We don't want to talk down to ourselves or like give ourselves any kind of like, hey, you've been doing this all wrong, you've got to stop. It's We're leaving that all behind and we're striving to do the things that are better. So instead of saying that, it's like, well, I'm going to eat such and such foods to fuel my body X number of times a week. So I really love the whole, you know, we talked we talk so much about how the way we think about ourselves, the way we feel about ourselves, the way we talk to ourselves has such a huge effect on us. Your goals need to read positively. They also need to be realistic. Like we talked about the aspirations, like dream big, like all the things that like, you are so far from where you potentially are right now, depending on what your goals are. These 12-week goals, they need to be realistic, as in like they're attainable within the 12-week period. Um, that's the third one. The fourth is you need to be accountable. We offer a lot of that. You have the coach message threads. Uh, Corey and I and most of the team, like we're a text away. Um, you have to lean into that kind of stuff. Being accountable is so important. And you're always more than welcome to like to grab a buddy and have like even more accountability on top of that. Whatever you need to do in order to continue to show up, it is super important. When you're a coach working with other coaches on your downline, on your team, have accountability with each other. Like I have a message thread with my working coaches and we like touch base probably almost every day just to like keep tabs on each other. So that's the fourth one. And then the fifth one, it does have to be time bound with a deadline, because otherwise, when are you going to do it? So, for example, which I mean, what I'm about to say is a big goal and is going to be maybe a little bit overwhelming for some of you. But as an example, the goal is to reach diamond in 12 weeks, which is totally attainable, by the way. Regardless of what you're thinking right now, it's 10,000% attainable. You can hit diamond in 12 weeks, guaranteed. Examples of the tactics needed to do this: connecting with 10 new people each week, touching base with and encouraging clients once per week, inviting 20 plus people to learn about coaching a week, participating in coaching events at least twice a month, talking about coaching daily, working with current coaches weekly to help them reach their goals, helping 2 coaches a month to advance to Emerald, so on and so forth. Those are the kind of tactics that you would put into place, taking things that are easy steps to take and then working towards that larger goal. Now, that is very much a goal that I would say is attainable for myself. Like what I just said, like that is something that I can easily implement. Now, having said that, again, these goals, realistic, they have to be realistic for you, whatever your goal is. Because the thing is, we want to be uncomfortable and we want to put the pressure on ourselves to an extent. That's where we grow. That's how we, do the needle moving in the business. But it cannot be to a point that it is so overwhelming that you just freeze up and don't move, because that's not going to help you either. So like, for some, it's not like we want to put a cap on it, but it's like, like I'm trying to think of something outrageous to say. Like for me to say, okay, well, I'm just going to be like at 15 star by February 1st. That would be, yeah, not attainable. So they do need to be,
Never sleep ever again for like
huh?
12 weeks. You wouldn't sleep for like 12 weeks if you were
I'm
going
just
after this.
gonna, I'm just gonna have a caffeine trip
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
talk to a million people. Yeah, so it needs to be, yeah, it needs to be attainable. However, hitting diamond in 12 weeks for any of you is attainable. I'm just saying, because it's just personal. That's just a bunch. Really, all that is a bunch of personal coaches, preferred customers. Just food for thought. Nothing to see here. Just sliding that in there. Okay, so back to this. I'm almost done here. So when it comes to deciding on the 12-week goals, when you start to think about this, they need to be something that aligns with your 3-year and your aspirational goals, right? They need to be connected. It all needs to be connected because again, the big vision, the things that we want, needs to trickle down. Like we want to work towards things that we truly care about, right? Because otherwise we're not going to do it. So take a look at those to determine where to start. And then once you have those goals and tactics and deadlines down, it's time to ask yourself a couple questions. Okay. And again, I'm skirting through the 12-week goals a bit. Corey's going to talk way more about that and then actually helping, we're actually going to work on creating those goals next week. But the questions that you'll ask yourself once you have this all in place, it's like a little like, you heard the saying CYA, cover your ass, what it reminds me of. First question, what actions am I going to struggle with when it comes to these goals? If you guys don't write down invites, I'm going to call you out for lying. That should be one of your struggles. I feel like we all, like, maybe minus Corey. Like invites are dumb. Even for Corey, they're dumb. Invites are never fun. And whether we feel like uncomfortable doing them or it's a time thing or it's just like an inconvenient thing, like I'm just using that for an example. Like what actions are you going to struggle with? Invites. So as an example, so what are we going to do? The second question you're going to ask yourself is what you're going to do to overcome those struggles. Like we're proactively working on the stuff that we're going to struggle with. Maybe you're going to send them out first thing in the morning. Maybe you're going to have your list of 10 people that you're going to invite the next day written down, and you're just going to send out the invites the next morning, like real quick, get it over with. Anybody read the book Swallow the Frog? Is that what it's called? Swallow the Frog? I don't know. Doing the hard things first.
Eat that frog.
Eat that frog. Swallow the frog. Same thing. So maybe you're going to do them first. For me, when I first started, I was telling Kristen this earlier, I was traumatized in my head about the responses that I would get from people when I would invite them, like because the no's were so, like I was still in that thought process where like I was very attached to the word no. So I would send them all before bed. I would have like my 10 people ready to go and I would just send all the invites before I went to sleep, and then I wouldn't get on social media until the next morning. It's like, okay, I'm done. I'm not looking. Maybe you're going to set an alarm. Maybe it's connecting with people that you struggle with. Maybe you're going to set, your plan is to overcome that. You're going to set an alarm so that you do it for sure for like 20 minutes a day or whatever it may be. Yeah, for forum posts too. Yep. Agreed. Maybe it's that you're going to find an accountability partner. Maybe you're going to hook up with another coach and you guys are just going to, like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like just be up each other's asses about the stuff that you're going to do. It's like, hey, like I'm sending out these invites today. You need to text me at 6:00 tonight and we're going to check in and make sure we did our shit. Which Corey and I literally used to do that. So it does work. Food for thought. Again, just sliding that in there. It's just important to be proactive about it. Okay. Like we're going to think about where we're going to have those possible like shortfalls or shortcomings or struggles or whatever you want to call it. And we're going to overcome them, navigate through them, do all the things. So hopefully this is helpful. Again, I'm just kind of giving you guys like an idea of where we're coming from this. I do have a little bit of homework to help you be more prepared for next week so that you don't like listen to Corey and all of a sudden are like WTF. I want you to work on those long-term aspirations. I want you to do your brain dump. Not when it just comes to business, when it comes to everything that we talked about. I want you to do your brain dump. And then I want you to pick out your emotionally, the things that like really set your soul on fire when you look at them. Like, oh my gosh, like that would just be like, for me, one of mine is, for an example, I don't want my kid to have to worry about paying for college. So one of my big ones is like, I would love to have a savings set up where there's enough money there where she can go to school and she doesn't have to worry about student loans. And that's a big, scary goal because college is expensive as fuck. So you know, like things like that. So I want you to think about those aspirations. I want you to pick out the really emotionally connected ones. And then I would love for you to start working on where you would like to see yourself with that 5, 10, 15 year mark with those aspirations. And then also the 3 years. Like start in I specifically want you to work on the long-term aspirations. I would love for you to touch on the 3 years too. My thought here is that you come prepared to know where you're wanting to go so that picking out those 12-week goals doesn't feel quite so overwhelming. Because again, like with 12-week goals, you know, we're only going to pick like one, two, I mean, maybe three tops, like as far as like your whole like life spectrum goes, um, for that period. Like I feel like any more than that would be way too much. I feel like three would be like your max and one would be plenty. So um that's kind of where my thought process went with all of that. And then again, when it comes to these goals, you guys, they need to be meaningful. Okay. They need to be something that you're truly going to care about. Like if you see like, I don't know, I feel like I used to just to like leave you with this, I used to like look at all these other people who had these lives and I was like, man, that looks like so great. Like I want the fancy house. I want this. I want that. Everybody talks about like how you need to, you know, make sure you envision exactly how you want your house to look and all these things. And I was like, I need to do that. But like, if you don't give a shit about living in some fancy house, like, don't put that as a goal. You know, like, make sure you're really paying attention to what you want for yourself, for your family, for all the things. So, really, yeah, tune out the noise when you're doing this and just do it for yourself. So, that's all I have. I don't know, Corey, if you want to touch base on anything. Um, yeah.
That was super good. I was just going to suggest something I'm going to personally do. I've been kind of holding off doing this last section of the book because I wanted to work through it with you guys over this month. I am actually tomorrow morning during my journaling time, I'm going to start 3 sheets of paper and do like my vision for like my aspirations, what I really want. And then I'm going to do one for kind of like my 3 year vision. And then I'm going to do one for more like more of the 12-week or upcoming over the next year type goals. So over the next few days, as things come to me, I can just write them down and I can kind of let my mind be open instead of like only giving myself 10 or 15 minutes to do all of them. Does that make sense? So maybe do something like that or open a note on your phone and just allow yourself to keep going. And if something comes to you at lunch, you can throw it on there or whatever, you know, just so you can allow your brain to really be open and think about over the next week. Because here's the thing, you guys, this takes time to put all of this down on paper, and we're all busy and we're all very stretched, right? Some of us are emotionally stretched, so that makes it harder to sit down and use our brains, but make this a priority a few minutes a day, every day for the rest of this month. Because when you create your vision and we work together to create our plan, it is going to help you keep focus. And the whole purpose of the 12-week year is like Kate was saying, how like if you start, you give yourself a goal at the beginning of the year and you give yourself the deadline of December 31st, there's a whole lot of time. So if I miss a day here, I miss a day there, I miss a week here, I miss a week there, before you know it, 3 or 4 months is gone and you haven't taken a freaking step forward. Right. And then you're just spinning your wheels. And then come to the end of the year, you either feel like a failure and you throw in the towel and you're like, I'll wait till next year. Next year is going to be my year. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Right. So by taking this time, a couple minutes a day over the next couple of weeks to really think about the things that you want to work towards and the actions that you want to take, you're going to free yourself up from all the bullshit come next year. And you're going to allow yourself that room for growth and to take those steps forward because you're going to create a plan. So we understand that this is going to take time and it's a little bit of time we probably don't have right now, but having this plan in place is going to set you up for next year. And the beauty of the 12 weeks is if something isn't working, if your vision changes for some reason, whatever, It's 12 weeks and we can adjust, right? It's super easy to evaluate, see what's working, and make changes as needed. Okay. All right. So make sure you do your homework. I don't think I have anything else. That's the only couple little notes I wanted to add on. So,
And I love that you said adjust because, and I love she is right too, like with the 12 weeks, like being able to like tweak as you go. Because I know, like, for me personally, like before, I mean, when I did vision a couple years ago and I didn't know anything about the 12-week year, I actually struggled a lot because I was working towards a vision that was no longer,
mhm,
as I was like moving through like different life circumstances, it was like, man, like I don't think I want this anymore. Like I feel like I should want it, but I really don't. And then it was like it was a hiccup. It was like this hurdle I had to overcome. And the 12-week year like allows you to skip all of
mhm,
that. So
mhm.
yeah.
You actually came into my brain when I was saying that. So I was listening to in Growth Day, Mel Robbins does this super short piece on quitters. And I actually have like 4 minutes left, but it wouldn't play for me today. So I got distracted. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Um, she's talking about how everybody has this bad persona about quitters and that quitting is a bad thing and you shouldn't quit. You should just push through or whatever. She said, but winners quit. They quit when it no longer serves them or their goals. And as she's talking about it, she's actually in the car being chauffeured to Montreal, Canada to do a live whatever, like a keynote speak, right? And it's fall in the background. And she said, leaves are the prime example. It's a perfect analogy, is that trees, if they held on to their leaves through the winter, would die because the leaves would suck the energy that they need to conserve to survive through the winter and the harsh of the cold weather. So the tree quits the leaves. It literally pushes the leaves off of the branches, and that is why they fall. They don't fall, they are pushed off. So if something is no longer serving you, push it off of your plate. Quit it. So you can allow yourself to breathe and to live and serve the goals that you really want in life. And I want you guys to really evaluate that this is the perfect time of year to really think about those things. Where did you tell yourself you would be by now this year? What are some things you can let go of to give yourself space to grow and blossom? And where are we going to move towards in 2023? Okay. Okay. That's all I have. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Nothing good. I
Okay.
like it.
So take the time. I'm serious. You guys, we can't do it for you. And you get to decide whether you do it or not. But I'm telling you, you're going to serve yourself so much better if you take the time to go over these action items. Okay. If you take the time to really think about what are the things you want in life? What are the things you want for your family? And then we'll work from there. Okay. All right. I love you all. Thank you, Kate. You're